Welcome back to the Rebuilt Parish podcast. Today, we have two special guests for you. And I have to tell you, this is an episode unlike any we've done before. Today on the podcast, we have Kurt Kandler from 410 Bridge, and we've got Amy from Church of the Nativity, who is the Director of Missions. And if you can tell by her title, today we are talking all about mission work. And I'll be honest and say this was an enlightening conversation for me, learning all about how parishes can engage in missions, how partnering with an organization like 410 Bridge can help be just that, the bridge between a parish and working in global missions is incredible. And learning from Amy all about how discipleship can happen based on mission trips and the impact it makes not just on the communities they're serving, but on the parishioners that go on the trips as well. Woo! It is all mind-blowing. Make sure to tune in and hear all about how mission work can help renew your parish. Well, Kurt, Amy, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today.
Thank you so much for having us. We're excited.
Well, Kurt, can you start by telling us about yourself and the mission of 410?
Well, sure. So, thanks for having me on this podcast with Amy. It's a real honor. So, a little bit about me. Personally, I am a former marketplace guy, a business guy. I've always been fairly entrepreneurial in my career, but I come from the marketplace. And through a series of really crazy God events, I found myself about 20 some odd years ago, face to face with an environment in middle of Uganda that was an extreme poverty environment. And during my time there, I just was really convicted that I felt like there was a much better way to engage the global poor, people struggling in extreme poverty. So in 2006, we started an organization called the 410 Bridge. I left my career, my marketplace career, and started 410 in 2006. And 410 Bridge is a global poverty ministry. We get our name from 1 Peter 4:10. 1 Peter 4:10 says that everyone should use the gifts that they've received to serve others, faithfully administering God's grace in its various forms. We love that. We love that scripture. That's our namesake scripture. But what we do is, we exist. And the reason we exist is because we believe we have to redefine the war on poverty. We have to redefine what it means to win it. We have to redefine what it means for the people actually living in extreme poverty. And I think really importantly, we have to redefine how we all fight that battle together. So we are a disruption, I think, to the kind of global poverty space, the traditional way of the way churches and NGOs and nonprofits tackle the poverty problem. And we work in just under 100 communities and villages in 6 countries around the world today. And we adopt communities for the long term, walking with them for a number of years until they get to a place where they can continue their journey of development without us. And that, at a high level, is what 410 Bridge does.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Kurt, I'm so excited for everyone else to learn more about what you do. And I'm excited to learn about this. This is amazing because there are so many parishes across the country that are not doing mission work yet. So this is such a timely conversation. Now, Amy, could you please share a little bit about your role at Church of the Nativity and your work in leading missions?
Yeah, so I've been in this role as the mission director here at Church of the Nativity for about a year and a half. But I've been a parishioner here for 13 plus years. And during my time here, actively involved in missions and ministry. And just feeling so blessed to be in this role and being able to do more of this work, both locally and globally, but also bringing others into this work as well. So in my role, I manage all of our partner relationships with our local partners and then all of our partner relationships with our global partners, which 410 Bridge is one of those.
Wow. This is exciting. So you're helping to make opportunities for missions for the parishioners, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm getting people to take that step forward into the mission field, whether that mission field be in Baltimore City or Baltimore County with one of our local partners, or to take a step into the physical mission field on a global trip, or just to get more information and support from like a home base through prayer and active support that way.
Oh, this is exciting. I can't wait for our listeners to hear more about how you and the team at Nativity engage in missions, because I think this is a key component missing in parishes all over the place. Now, Kurt, I want to ask you this question because you shared that we need to redefine what, global poverty, what the solution is. Can you share with us, how does 410 Bridge approach global missions differently than other organizations?
Sure. So, I mean, I feel like maybe I said this earlier, is that I feel like we're a disruption to the traditional perspective of what it means to do global missions, specifically in very poor environments. And I feel like we kind of broke the mold, really, because what I saw was very early on that, the traditional ways of trying to help bring people out of poverty and our approaches were just ineffective. And so I think it starts with how 410 Bridge defines poverty. We believe we kind of rise and fall on our definitions. And so if we're going to solve a problem, we better define it well. And we don't define poverty as a material problem. We don't believe it's a material problem. We believe that it's an issue of worldview, how people think, how people see the world, and their worldview drives the choices they make, and those choices drive actions. And so we've come to learn that, helping people shift how they think, their worldview, to a Christian biblical worldview will do more to help them solve their poverty problem on their own than it will with us. And so it starts with really how we define poverty. The other thing, other word in our space that's a big word that needs to be properly defined is this word development. We are a community development organization. How do you define development? Well, we define development by what people do for themselves. So we don't do for communities. We don't do for people. We do with people. They have to participate in their own personal development. And so those are two, I think, really core definitions that set us off onto a path to be much more effective than the traditional models. So if we're going to shift worldview and walk with a community as they kind of participate in their own development, again, that which they do for themselves, we've got to be a mile deep and an inch wide. I think the global missions paradigm in the U.S. for the North American church really is very ADD. I mean, we see it as short-term trips. And last year we went to, Panama. So next year we got to go someplace different. And they just don't walk with people over the long term, driving toward a particular outcome of solving a problem. And that's what we do.
Okay.
And so, so that's that. I think it starts with those definitions, and it starts with trying to change the paradigm of how the West engages the poor.
This is amazing. So I love this perspective of going a mile deep and an inch wide. So that way you're walking along with this community for years, which that is so different from what many other churches are doing.
Yeah, I think not only is it different, but it's also not forever. I think that's the other paradigm shift, is that we are really trying to work ourselves out of a job as quickly as we can in a community. So while we're walking in a community for typically 8 to maybe 14 years, 15 years, who knows what, we really do have an end in sight. And there are outcomes, measurable outcomes that we're trying to achieve that have been defined by the community itself. And once we start approaching those outcomes, we can graduate that community and we can leave and go help another community that we've been invited into. And so while it's for a long time and we are a mile deep and an inch wide, it's not forever, and it shouldn't be forever.
I love that. Kurt, I almost asked you, what are those objectives? And you followed up on your own with saying the community itself sets those objectives. And that sounds like it's got to be a key part of it, where 410 Bridge isn't going in and saying, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is the outcome. You help them come up with their own outcome.
Yeah, it's all indigenously led. Amy can speak to this. She's met many of our leaders around the world, but we have a leadership council and that leadership council are volunteer leaders in their community. They're responsible for mobilizing, unifying their community to go off and do for themselves. We just walk behind them and help. They kind of pull us on their journey of development, but it's their outcomes. It's their community, not ours. It's theirs. And so they define the outcomes. They define kind of where their vision for their community is, and we help them get there. And as we start approaching that, solving big issues like income and education issues, water, health issues. Once we start achieving those outcomes that they wanted, we can talk about graduating and leaving their community.
Amazing. That's amazing. Now, Amy, talk to us about why mission work is such a key part of the Church of the Nativity's culture and discipleship process.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of our steps here at Nativity to serve. And so not only do we want our parishioners to serve here in ministry at Church of the Nativity, but our church extends beyond the physical walls of our building, right? And definitely more so over the last few years as we've seen our online campus grow drastically. So, yeah, my goal and my mission is to provide those opportunities for our parishioners to get involved at a deeper level, whether that be with our local partners or our global partners. And that's, my story. I was, involved in local missions on my own, very transactionally, until I heard God say, you need to go just a little deeper, a little further. And that's when I stepped out into the mission field in my first mission trip in 2018. And what I had seen a very transactional approach to poverty and a poverty alleviation, my world was completely changed. And the way that 410 Bridge approaches a very transformational way of poverty alleviation. And I've been riding the wave ever since.
That is amazing. Well, just talking to you and Kurt. So before we hit record, we were talking. I've never been on a mission trip. And now just hearing about all of this makes me want to go on one and then take my parish with me. This is incredible.
Well, If you know anything about Amy, she will now follow up with you.
She'll make sure.
You'll be getting an email later on today.
Right.
I'm sure I will. I'm sure I will.
You're not careful. You may already have your plane tickets booked by the end of this podcast.
All right. That sounds good to me.
And I think historically, like churches have, seen mission work as just like local and transactional, which there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, there's need everywhere, for sure. And that work needs to be done. But what we try to do is balance the transactional mission work that we're doing here at Nativity with the transformational work that we're doing as well. So even though we support local partners in a very transactional way in that we're sending volunteers to do a service on a monthly basis, we're also trying to go a layer deeper and invest in a transformational experience with that partner. So through Bible studies or small group studies or just supporting their mission in a deeper way. And that's why it's so important for us to have the global work that we're doing with 410, because it truly allows our parishioners to go very deep into a community and into the organization and really build a relationship over a long period of time through our partnership.
That's incredible. Now, Kurt, many churches just struggle to make mission sustainable and impactful, and some churches just have no idea how to do this. So how does 410 Bridge help parishes build those long-term relationships that you're talking about rather than those short-term mission trips?
Well, I don't know that it's rather than short-term mission trips. I think short-term trips are an important element of it. But I think, I guess my opinion on that is one, it's not easy to change how parishes think about global missions and how we think about the poverty, But I feel like the church is stuck. I feel like we're stuck in an old paradigm. I mean, we're active. Many of the churches are active, but are we being effective? We may be doing stuff, but I think oftentimes confuse activity with accomplishment. So when I talked earlier about having defined outcomes, I mean, those are measurable outcomes, objectives that we're trying to reach with the community so that they don't need us anymore and we can leave. But when a church partners with 410, like Nativity, it's by definition long-term. It's not this kind of ADD. We went this place last year, so now we got to go someplace different because it needs to be different. It is for the long term. And we really are looking for partners and churches who want to walk alongside a community for an extended period of time, sending their people, engaging their people. I feel like there's no better way to really understand our model and how it's different and what people are going through in our communities unless you go and see it. You can watch videos and you can, read books and you can all that. But when you see it, like you're going to soon, it's just different. And I think that the old paradigm of short-term teams is kind of a bit of, you've heard the phrase poverty tourism. It's like an adventure, a cross-cultural adventure. And while that is all kind of cross-cultural is okay, it's not the reason that we go engage people. We're engaging people to go to plug into what the community already has going on. So we just want to be wind in their sails. We want to be a catalyst for change in their communities. We want to kind of be on this path of discipleship, not only discipling them, but them discipling us. It's a two-way bridge. And so because it's long-term, and because of all what I've just talked about, we really want relationships with our church partners to be part and become part of the church's DNA. And that is just different than I think what a lot of North American churches do. And they don't know how to go about doing that. They need partners to go do that. But most of the organizations that they work with see it the same traditional old way. And nobody is flipping the script and changing that paradigm. So if a church kind of buys into our model, they are buying into the outcomes for that community. They kind of take on those outcomes as their own. They're helping us and the community leadership drive toward those outcomes, becomes part of their DNA. And they really celebrate. Everyone celebrates when, we graduate a community.
That's incredible.
So yeah, that's kind of how we do it.
Oh my gosh. Amazing. Now, Amy, so you've been a part of these. You've been partnered with 410 Bridge for a while. What impact have you seen on the communities that Nativity has helped to serve and out in the mission field?
Yeah, just so many. So recently, in 2023, we were able to be a part of graduating one of those communities. So our first community in Kenya had reached the point of full sustainability, meaning they had met all their goals and objectives and they were deemed fully sustainable. And therefore, it was time for them to graduate. And as part of 410's mission and model, 410 was now going to step out of that community. And as their partner, we were going to step out of that community as well. But we were able to send a team there and to celebrate this momentous occasion of graduation. And it's just been, it was so great to see. They're so happy and prideful of the work that they themselves, the community, put into getting to this point, and shared it with other communities. And that's how we're now in our new community in Kenya in Ulu, which is a neighboring community to Q. And they saw all the great things that Q was doing. And they were like, we could want to get in on all of that work. So that's why we're there. So that, is just a huge impact. And I've been blessed to be able to travel multiple times since then into our communities. And just every time I'm there, I can see the progress being made. And that really helps to reinforce the updates that I'm getting from 410 Bridge and from the community leaders on work that is being done in the communities. I can see the outdoor kitchen being built. I can see the construction of a school building being done. I can see the new materials that the schools have for the students. I can see the fresh uniforms. So, and that's why it's so important for our parishioners to travel to these communities, because they can see firsthand not only the community bringing themselves out of poverty, but the work and the tangible work and the effects of that.
That is incredible. I got chills when you said that you were able to help graduate a community in 2023, and now you're helping their neighboring community. And that just, it makes it so tangible when you get to see those results and to see that the neighboring community was so inspired by what happened there that now they're working to make things better. Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Now, Kurt, I'm sure you have so many success stories to share about a parish's, partnership and how you've helped to transform a community. Maybe could you share your favorite transformation of a community?
Oh boy. Well, I think, there are just a gazillion stories. But, what Amy touched on was this idea of graduation. Graduation is this culmination of hundreds of, if not thousands, of stories of transformation at the individual level.
Yes.
But I guess I'm always gravitating toward the hope that comes from people when their worldview shifts, when they begin to see, and I could name names, but it wouldn't matter. This happens just across the board, dozens and dozens and dozens of households where the light goes on and they realize that God has given them everything that they need to change the pattern, change the quality of their life. So again, we don't come in and give away clothes and shoes, and that's just a tired old way of trying to help people that does not work. What we're really trying to do is help them think differently about what it means to be a godly parent, a godly spouse, a godly school teacher, a godly leader, a godly business owner. And so when we're training people on these variety of things that help them physically, we're also bringing them God's truth about money, about generosity, about the relationships with their neighbors or their spouses or their children in their schools or whatever. And when that light goes on and they see like, wow, I actually can, I'm actually empowered to change the quality of my life, they will hit this hockey stick of growth without us. Wow. And you can always tell those people. We do a business startup training, which is basically business training, teaching people how to start or run profitably and in a godly way a small enterprise, a small business, to lift their household incomes. And when you sit and talk to them before the training, you hear things like, I've been in business forever, but it's not successful. I don't even know where to begin. I don't have anything. I don't have the money to start my own business. Mm-hmm. And so when coming out of that, and after maybe a little while of running their business, they are literally lighter in their step. Mm-hmm. They have hope. Their eyes shine, and they're like, you know what? I can make a difference not only for my family now, but for my neighbors. I'm sponsoring a child to go to secondary school. I'm helping or hiring people in my community, in my business. And, they're empowered. And I feel like this word empowerment is so overused in our space. And we all feel really good about empowering people. But what we've learned is that we can't empower people against their will. So, you can put somebody in an empowering environment, but unless they claim that empowerment and really run with it, nothing's going to change. And so we've got to change how they think, that they need to, they grasp and own their empowerment. And when they do, and Amy's met these people too. When they do, it's really rewarding to see that they're going to be fine. They're going to be on this path of self-development without us. And that's what we're looking for.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I'm just so, I guess I should say, I don't think impressed is a big enough word when I'm hearing about how you're transforming these communities. And I love that it's not just the typical, we're not bringing clothes, we're not bringing shoes. We are teaching them skills. We are teaching them a new mindset, because we know that so much can be accomplished when you do shift that mindset. You're teaching them how to be self-sustainable. And that is incredible. That's just so impactful.
It's living out 1 Peter 4:10. Every single day in these communities. Like, not only is the 4:10 bridge grounded in that verse, but they are helping these community members see the God-given gifts and assets that they already had in themselves and in the community, and just how to rework and tweak them to, pull themselves out of poverty. And it's truly amazing to see from start to finish, just like how that all happens. And, there's not just one story of transformation, there's thousands of stories of transformation. But to be able to be a witness to that is truly something that's very special.
Oh my gosh. And Amy, so you've seen how this mission work has transformed lives in these communities, but then you also get to see the transformation of the parishioners coming from Nativity and going and participating. How have you seen a transformation in the parishioners' lives when they go on these mission trips?
Yeah, I mean, well, just this year alone, we have 6 trips planned with the 410 bridge, and we have over
Oh,
40 travelers. And of that 40, 30 are brand new. So something is
wow.
seriously taking place here that is driving our parishioners to want to step into the mission field. But we're seeing travelers come back truly transformed and wanting to go on another mission trip, wanting to bring someone along with them, wanting to lead a mission trip, wanting to sponsor a child or a community, getting their small group involved, or just getting involved in another way, in a deeper level here at Nativity or with our other partners. So that's where I'm seeing the transformation the most on those that are coming back. They're either repeat travelers, they're bringing someone along. And now I'm really working on trying to spread the reach, right, through our Rebuilt Parish network. Not only are we doing this, but we want you to be able to do this as well. So this year we're able to share some trips with some of our rebuilt parishes, and one of them has actually signed on to be a partner with the 410 Bridge, and they are traveling on their own this summer. So I see that as a huge transformation and impact of the work that we're doing, and then sharing this experience with other churches.
It's incredible. And, I have to share when you were just on, what day did you get back? I feel like it was just a couple days ago.
Sunday morning.
Sunday. Okay. Just a few days ago. But just seeing the photos you were sending us so that we could share on our social with our rebuilt community, just seeing the smiles on the faces of you and the people in the community and the parishioners from Nativity. And we had one of our partner parish leaders, Analia, along with you, just seeing that impact and how, one of the things I love about how Nativity helps our rebuilt parishes is that you show the model and you show, like, here's the way you can walk with us and we'll help you. And I think you've done just such a beautiful job of modeling that. And before we were talking, Kurt had asked, Melissa, why have you never been on a mission trip? My parish just hasn't offered them. I think so many parishes don't know how. Yeah. And I love that the two of you are partnering and helping us to get this work in parishes all over.
Well, I had a parishioner on this trip say, when I asked before, like, so why did it take you so long to sign up on a mission trip? You've been thinking about it for a while. And she's like, I just never knew what happened. Like, I knew people went on trips and I guess they got where they were and they came back, but I don't know like what they experienced, what happened while they were on there. And so that's really, my task and my role here is to provide that awareness and that transparency and that visibility. So when we're on a mission trip, we're writing a daily digest every day that goes out to hundreds of people. We're sharing on social media. We're having, group training events where people can share their stories and their testimony. And we're just trying to expose more people to the work that's being done, because if you have that on your heart and you're questioning it and you're sitting in the pew on Sunday morning, you're like, I don't know, God. But then you see a picture of your small group member pop up on the screen. You're like, oh, well, if she can go on a mission trip, I can go on a mission trip. That's the type of, transformation that I want to see happen. So
that's incredible. And what I'm so excited about is that Kurt, you and the team from 410 Bridge are going to be at our conference. So everybody who comes to the conference is going to have the opportunity to interact with you, to interact with Amy, to ask questions. And I believe you're there's a breakout too, right? Am I right?
Yep.
Okay. Could you tell us, what's that, Kurt?
No, that's what I'm told. Yep. Looking forward to it.
So now any parish who's interested in bringing parish missions, when they come to the conference, they can choose your breakout session and get to learn more about missions, which that's incredible.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're right. I feel like churches, there's kind of three camps of churches. I think there's some parishes who just don't really even know how to begin. Right. They know that biblically they're supposed to be doing something globally. We're supposed to be engaging the poor, not just in our own backyard, that too, but globally. And they don't know where to begin. Then there's others that have confused, I think, just doing anything, activity, with are they accomplishing and being effective at what they do? I think there's some confusion there. And then there's a bunch of churches out there that are very active and are trying to figure out how to do this the right way. And what we've come to realize, or I realized early on with 410, was when we started, I knew that we couldn't be successful, helping the poor without partnerships, resources from the West. And so we kind of burned our ships early on with partnering with the North American Church. But then I came to realize that we weren't going to be successful in helping the poor unless we changed the paradigm of how the West engages the poor. Mm-hmm. Because oftentimes we do more harm than good. Way more often do we do more harm than good. We're really not trying to restore people's dignity. We're really not trying to help them to figure out a Christian biblical worldview through discipleship. So they see God's truth and how that can impact their lives. And so we wanted to stand in that current. And so I spend a lot of my time these days on this side of the bridge, really talking about my book, if you really want to help, and talking to churches about how they need to rethink their strategy or create a strategy for global missions and then go execute on that strategy. And so that's why we're delighted to be a sponsor at Rebuild, and it gives us an opportunity to meet parishes, to meet leaders who are struggling with, okay, well, how do we go do this? Because they feel like they need to do it on their own. Right. And we're a potential solution like Nativity to partner together and not only help the poor on the other side of the bridge, but really help your church, help your parish change its paradigm of how they see the poor locally and globally, and see their global missions effort as a discipleship opportunity for their people, not just a one-way relationship trying to help poor people on the other side of the planet. So, yeah, they can come and meet me, and I'll be with Amy much of the time. We can talk about a variety of things, but invite a conversation with them when I'm there.
Oh, this is so exciting. I'm so grateful that that you're sponsoring the conference and that you're making yourself available to help connect with all of these parishes in our community that are coming on site. This is amazing. Now, Amy, you know that what we focus on at Rebuilt is parish renewal. We want to help parishes make disciples. That's our mission. So can you share how Church of the Nativity's mission work helped to fuel your parish's overall vision for renewal?
Yeah, I think it's given our parishioners another step into their faith journey. It's created opportunities for them to serve and literally be God's hands and feet here at church, in our local community, and then our global community. And through that, it's really helped to deepen their spiritual lives and created a sense of spiritual maturity within each of them. Our global trips, our local work is all very spiritually based, and God is in every single moment and thing that we do. And we do a lot of prep for both local and global to prepare our parishioners and our ministers to spiritually approach the work that they're doing. So yeah, I've seen deepened relationships here at church, deepened spiritual relationships, and just a desire to want to do more.
That's incredible. Now, Kurt, if a parish leader wants to explore partnering with 410 Bridge, if they're like, I want these results that Amy is getting, I want to help these communities that you're talking about, Kurt, what's the best way for them to start that partnership with you?
Well, it starts with a conversation. I would say, though, let me just step one step back to what Amy was just talking about. What I love about Rebuild, and over, I don't know how long we've been partnering with Nativity. I don't know, Amy, is it 15 years? I don't know what it is. It's a long time.
Yeah, something like that. Yes.
And over those years, and this is just not words. This is really how I feel about it. Nativity is an amazing church, and as the Rebuilt Network is really trying to help parishes renew and think differently of what it means to be the local church. We love that, because they are really trying to change the paradigm of what it means to be the local parish, right? And we're the same way. And I feel like that's why it's such a great relationship, and why we were really eager to and excited to sponsor Rebuilt, because I feel like we are cut from the same cloth. There are some old, tired, traditional ways of doing church or doing global missions that just don't work anymore. And they're really the culmination of what I call legacy decisions that have been made years ago that we continue to do more out of tradition than really if it's effective or not. And so for 410 Bridge, we were created to stand in that current, and we're not going to be swept down the old, tired, traditional ways. And I think we're really aligned with Rebuilt on that philosophy. So that's why we're excited about that. But if they want to do really, if they're serious about, hey, look, I want a little bit of what Amy's talking about here. I want another way of renewing the discipleship walk for my people and my church, and global missions is a way to do that. That is a piece of people's spiritual maturity walk. It starts with a conversation. So they can come and meet me at Rebuilt. They can email me at, if they'd like, Kurt at 410bridge.org, KURT at 410bridge.org. If they're a leader in a church and they want to kind of read about the origin story of 410 and why and how we do what we do, I tell them they should come by and pick up a book at the conference or order my book on Amazon if you really want to help. I think it's now mandatory reading for Nativity
it is, yes.
teams, which is super flattering. But it just really just gives a very simple, easy read. It's not that long, but a view of a new paradigm of what it means to engage the poor and redefining the war on poverty. So that's another place for them to start.
Amazing. Yeah. Thank you. And we'll have all of those links in the show notes too, so our listeners can find those easily.
Yeah. Great. And I'm always happy to have a conversation as well. We've had church leaders, just get directed my way and share my perspective and just what a partnership means with 410 Bridge, and that it's not about quantity, it's about quality. And that's something that Kurt reminds me all the time when I'm like, I feel like we should be in every single country and everywhere. And it's really about the quality of work we're doing in just a handful of countries. And so there's lots of ways that a church can start this relationship and partnership and this global work in small ways, and then gradually grow to bigger ways.
Let me just layer onto that if I can. It's so important to understand what true partnership is. And, at the beginning I said, we rise and fall in our definitions on the word poverty, definitions on the word development. But this partnership word is another one of these words that we feel like is poorly defined and misused. And what I love about our relationship with Nativity is it really is a true partnership, meaning, we define partnership as it's long-term in nature, and it has a high degree of mutuality, meaning it's a two-way street. Normally, churches are partnering with an organization, but it's a one-way relationship. The organization is out in the world being the hands and feet, doing their thing. And they think that the church should support them because they're out in the field, but they never really turn that around to try to provide value back to the church to meet the church's objectives for its people. And we really try hard to go do that. And that's why we love our relationship with Amy, because we see as part of our role the discipling of her people, putting them in an environment globally or even with poverty simulations or whatever we're doing inside her church to provide value back to people who may never go on a short-term trip. Mm-hmm. And she sees her role as discipling the people in our communities to the extent they can, not disempowering the local church, because the local church needs to do that too, but they are a catalyst for that. And so it's a true partnership, and 1 + 1 = way more than 2. And if a church is hungry for that, I think, that should start with a conversation and talk to Amy about what it really means from her perspective. And I'd love to talk to him too.
Awesome. Thank you, Kurt. Amy, any final thoughts or anything you would like to pour into those parishes who are just thinking about getting started with parish missions, or maybe just strengthening theirs?
Yeah, I mean, if there is a desire or a seed on your heart, I would just, lean into the Holy Spirit and let him guide the direction. That's what I do on a daily basis. And it's just been beautiful to see the steps that I've been able to take because of that. And again, there's small ways that you can start, and it can be, in a very small, tangible way to start your mission work, whether that be local or global work, and do something that is going to provide an impact and engagement for your parishioners. So lead with the Holy Spirit, let him guide the way and show you the way. And then just remember that starting small is at least taking a first step into the mission field. And then from there, you can continue to grow.
Oh my gosh, amazing. Thank you for that reminder of starting small too, because I think sometimes we think, oh, we have to just go big or we're not making an impact. But you're absolutely right. Starting small and starting with investing in the Holy Spirit, inviting the Holy Spirit in so that he can do that work in us and through us. Thank you. That's incredible. Well, Kurt, Amy, thank you both so much for taking the time to just share with our Rebuilt community. And we're excited that everyone gets to connect with you at conference and gets to learn from you in that breakout at conference.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Well, thank you to our listeners, and we will see you June 2nd and 3rd at Church of the Nativity for the Rebuilt Conference.